The illusion of intervention. Why troops in Ukraine fall short. Europe needs a new strategy for Russia. Sending troops into Ukraine is not the answer. This approach presents many serious problems. It could escalate the conflict dangerously. It is not a sustainable deterrent. Europe must find better, independent solutions. These solutions should build genuine, lasting security for the continent. They must be conceived and executed by Europeans for Europe. Some European leaders propose stationing forces in Ukraine. French President Macron suggested a reassurance force in March 2025. British Prime Minister Starmer mentioned a coalition of the willing. These ideas appear to offer a robust response. However, they essentially repackage old NATO peacekeeping models from the Balkans. Crucially, such plans depend heavily on US military support and logistical capabilities. This inherent reliance limits true European autonomy and decision-making. Relying on the United States for such ventures is increasingly risky. US President Donald Trump, for instance, aims to settle the war quickly. He is therefore unlikely to back new, extensive troop deployments into the region. US Vice President J.D. Vance has also rejected anchoring the US back into NATO through such a plan. Furthermore, Russian President Vladimir Putin strongly opposes any such moves. It directly contradicts his long-stated goal of keeping Ukraine out of Western military alliances. A security strategy that hinges on uncertain US backing is fundamentally weak. Europe cannot afford this profound vulnerability in the face of current threats. It urgently needs to develop its own credible and sustainable deterrent capabilities. The primary focus must therefore shift away from direct military intervention in Ukraine. Instead, Europe must concentrate on building its independent strength. This is the only viable path to ensuring its long-term security and strategic sovereignty. Forging European strength, the mass of maneuver doctrine. Europe should strategically organize and create a mass of maneuver. This concept refers to a consolidated, highly mobile combat power. It must be capable of deploying quickly to wherever it is most needed. Its primary purpose is to effectively deter potential Russian aggression. This deterrent capability could be directed against Ukraine or an increasingly aligned Belarus. It would also serve to protect Poland or the vulnerable Baltic states. This force offers flexible and therefore more credible strong deterrence. Europe, in fact, already possesses significant foundational military capabilities. The continent can call upon hundreds of thousands of active military personnel. European nations individually and collectively field meaningful ground units, including armor and mechanized infantry. They also operate capable air forces and substantial naval units. European NATO members collectively have nearly 100 fighter squadrons at their disposal. They also command approximately 100 major warships and can field well over 100 combat brigades of various types. To operationalize these assets, Europe should commit to fulfilling the NATO Readiness Initiative. This initiative was originally proposed by former US Secretary of Defense Jim Mattis between 2017 and 2019. It aimed to make available 30 mechanized battalions for deployment to Eastern Europe. It also included 30 air squadrons and 30 combat naval vessels. Crucially, this entire force was intended to be ready to move within 30 days. This ambitious goal was never previously achieved, partly due to a lack of sustained European urgency. Key European nations possess the capacity to achieve this critical objective now. France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, working in concert together, field some 22 combat brigades. This combined strength is more than sufficient to form an initial 10-brigade rapid reaction force. Such a force would effectively meet Mattis's 30 battalions strategic objective. Furthermore, Poland contributes significantly with its own growing arsenal, including 14 brigades. A combined force of this magnitude would create a powerful conventional defense posture. Bolstering the backbone, readiness and infrastructure imperatives. European ground forces require substantial and sustained improvements in their overall readiness. Military equipment needs consistent, thorough maintenance schedules and execution. Combat units must be fully staffed with well-trained and regularly exercised personnel. National stockpiles of essential munitions and critical spare parts must see significant growth. Moreover, An increased number of short-range air defense systems are crucial. These systems are needed to effectively counter the proliferating threat from unmanned aerial vehicles or drones. True readiness is the absolute foundation of any credible deterrent. Achieving this enhanced state of readiness necessitates clear, decisive actions from European governments. All European nations must commit to increasing their defense funding significantly and sustainably. The output from European defense factories needs a major, coordinated boost. This expansion will supply the required modern equipment and replenish ammunition stocks. Critically, Europe must also abandon outdated paradigms of equal defense spending distribution among projects. Instead, available funds should be strategically targeted where they can be most effective in building capability. Mobility is absolutely vital for the effective deployment and operation of large armored forces. This mobility relies heavily on efficient rail networks, sea transport capabilities, and robust road infrastructure. Airlift capabilities alone are insufficient for moving heavy combat units and their support elements. Therefore, existing European infrastructure requires significant and widespread upgrades. Bridges, particularly in Eastern Europe, must be strengthened to bear the weight of heavy military vehicles. Continental rail networks need better integration across national borders to speed transit. The European Union has already made considerable investments in upgrading Europe's transportation infrastructure. Over $38 billion have been spent or committed to various projects over the last 15 years. This ongoing effort should be significantly accelerated and strategically focused. For example, several key bridges in western Poland have been strengthened in recent years, improving military transit routes. Additionally, Europe should consider organizing its extensive civilian trucking industry for potential military logistics. This model, similar to West Germany's Cold War plans, adds vital strategic depth. Achieving autonomy. An independent European defense posture. Rapid military deployment capabilities fundamentally depend on strong logistical support available on the ground. Reception and sustainment facilities are therefore absolutely essential components of any credible defense posture. These facilities need considerable improvement and expansion across Eastern and Southeastern Europe. This includes constructing more hardened fuel storage tanks and modernizing existing military bases. Upgraded fiber optic cables for secure, high-bandwidth communications are vital. Enhanced railway sidings for efficient loading and unloading of military material are also necessary. European military planners should adopt a clear and ambitious strategic goal. Their focus must be on the ability to deploy 1 or 2 fully independent army corps. Each of these corps would typically consist of 5 to 10 combat brigades. These ground forces would need to be accompanied by dedicated integrated air support. Poland is the ideal geographical and strategic location for basing these corps. It serves as the crucial eastern linchpin of any future European defense architecture. Critically, these corps must be capable of operating effectively without US assistance. To command and control these independent forces, Europe needs suitable and practiced command structures. The existing NATO multinational corps Northeast, currently headquartered in Poland, could logically form one such corps. The European Union's Eurocorps headquarters, based in Strasbourg, France, could potentially form a second corps. This second formation should be deliberately structured to be independent of the NATO command chain. This independence allows for dedicated practice of operations without US military involvement. It would also prioritize the use of European command, control, navigation, and intelligence satellites. Ultimately, a truly independent European deterrent requires more than just troops and equipment. European nations must commit to significantly improving their intelligence sharing mechanisms and culture. Timely and accurate intelligence is crucial for maintaining situational awareness and enabling rapid, informed responses. Furthermore, France and the United Kingdom, as Europe's nuclear powers, have a unique role. They must carefully consider how their independent nuclear forces can best support and underpin this new European conventional deterrence strategy. Europe's future security depends on these comprehensive efforts.